Hey everybody, what's going on? Rob Cesternino back here for another week of revisiting Australian Survivor 2021 Brains versus Brawn, week 4 of our rewatch. And I'm so excited to be back here with the Sandra Bullock of podcasting. Here she is, Shannon Guss. Shannon, how are you?
I'm great. Thank you, Rob. What is the Sandra Bullock of podcasting? What does that mean?
Well, I mean, she's had so many roles, and I feel like that this is the equivalent of a bus that has to be going 55 miles per hour. And if we ever slow down, kablooey.
All you had to say was that I miss congeniality. Right there. You went for
Mm-hmm.
the bus that couldn't
The
slow down.
bus.
You
The
went for
bus.
that.
The bus
Yeah.
is, very iconic to me.
What movie is that? What's it called? Speed?
Speed.
Yeah, Speed. I'm not speeding Speed. That's really not technically like my speed, ironically.
Mm-hmm.
Not my vibe.
Mm-hmm.
What is it? So
Yeah.
it's a bus that if it ever stops, it'll crash.
Yeah.
It'll blow
The
up.
bus was gonna
Yeah.
blow up.
No, I get that. It doesn't sound that.
The bus does a jump that they go as best as they can. There's like a piece of missing highway, and the bus jumps, and the
Amazing.
bus goes airborne, and they land the bus on the other side of the road.
Is it sentient?
No,
Oh, okay. Well, that's kind of boring. Just a regular bus that's going to explode. Have you seen Miss Congeniality?
you
That's
know
a
what?
film.
No, you know what? I actually that now drag me. Okay, I really haven't seen it.
Have you seen The Proposal?
I believe I have. Who's in that? Ryan Reynolds?
Yeah. She does have a lot of good films,
Mm-hmm.
And every
Mm-hmm.
single time we do this rewatch, it's going to be like a bump on, conversation,
Yeah.
much like the bus
Yeah,
did.
I believe, and so we're totally off track, like that famous bus, and so I went to go see that movie in the movie theater with
The Proposal or Speed.
with my wife, I think maybe my girlfriend at the time, and my mother-in-law. Maybe we were newlyweds,
Wait, are you talking
and
about
then
Speed or The Proposal?
this Speed. I was in
Oh,
11th grade when Speed came out.
oh,
Okay.
okay. I don't
Uh,
know.
and yeah, and there was a moment that was like an inappropriate joke in the film, and I remember my mother-in-law cackling loudly, and it was a little bit like, oh, this is an embarrassing moment.
I remember that that was super off track. I saw Failure to Launch, which is like also like with Sarah Jessica Parker. I think
Failure to launch, is that the name of this podcast today?
brilliant. Anyway, I saw that with my grandparents, and I remember that being really inappropriate. It's funny how that stuff just sits with you, right? Like nothing will just house itself in your memory, like seeing an inappropriate movie with someone you don't want to,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like
Yeah.
that's a human thing. That's
Mm-hmm.
relatable.
Yeah. All right.
Australian
Well,
Survivor.
Australian Survivor. A little bit of a sleepy week in the rewatch here.
My God, are you entitled? You're right.
Mm-hmm.
You're
Yeah.
entitled.
Well, I will say that I'm sure in the real time. And who'd you podcast this week with?
David Jennett, the Golden God.
Oh,
So
wow. Okay, so you got a lot to talk with him.
yeah, we
But
did.
I will say that probably the biggest moment of the week for sure is
Yeah.
Simon's blindside, which is one of the few things that I got spoiled on from Survivor Heroes versus Villains. So I'm like, oh, maybe it doesn't happen tonight, but it's probably going to happen tonight.
Right. Because how much of that did you remember? Because because we never said it, I don't think, on this podcast.
I remembered that Simon was blindsided by 2 idols, but the thing that was like the saving grace was I remember George being like, and he blames me. It had nothing to do with me. And I'm like, okay, so George isn't even on Simon's tribe. So I know Simon's not going home because George isn't involved. And so, okay, all right, let's see how Simon gets out of this one with his 2 idols and his allies blindsiding him. And then when we get the VIPs show up, like, ooh, okay, oh, now George is involved. Okay.
That's a fun puzzle.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I knew very little about this season, but I knew Simon is going to get blindsided with 2 idols, and I knew that George is going to be involved in a way where then George is going to be like, what did I even do? And I felt like, oh, the pieces are lining up here.
Yeah, and I think that's fair, right? Like, what did George even do?
For Haley to ultimately get the votes on Danny.
Yeah. Or for Simon to play an idol and then Danny
Yes.
goes on
I
the
was
split.
hoping this is in
Yeah.
my mind. I was hoping Simon play your idol, Danny goes home, and then Simon find another idol and then get
Yeah.
blindsided with two idols. That was what I was hoping for.
Well, you got a whole season with Simon. I feel like you've had,
A
your
whole
Simon Cups.
season. This was
No,
four
the next one,
4
not
weeks.
this one.
Yeah,
No.
that's true.
Yeah. And you
That's
got him
true.
next time.
Yes.
And look, I mean, it is upsetting to lose Simon here. Obviously, he was like
Was he a villain?
clear return. No, I love it. You're all the questions we had. I agree. But Haley
Yeah.
was a hero, and Haley takes him out. I also would have been a little bit resentful if I were him.
I mean, yeah, I feel like that is really tough to call Simon a villain. He's
Yeah.
not like, ooh, like I'm twirling my mustache and being such a villain.
Well, he explained in his deep dive that he'd been called to do heroes versus villains. He was a hero. He'd like bought a bunch of stuff. He quit his job. He gets dropped. Then weeks later, like about a week out from filming, they're like, you can come back now and be a villain. And he was like, all right. So it was just logistics, clearly, as they did for even US Survivor, just like trying to, and I think from a strength perspective, because the heroes were so strong, so they need, like, they couldn't, like, I mean, they could have put Sam Webb on the villains, but they weren't. Like, so Sam and Sean, and then, they had to have like football players and everyone on the heroes tribes. They needed some strength on villains. So I think he like fit into that puzzle.
Yeah.
In a way that made sense. It's a big moment that he goes with two idols. I mean, that's why I'm saying that you're a little entitled, but it's true. This is, I think, I don't know if it's the sleepiest week. It's in contention with another one, but it's probably the least to say. But someone goes home with two idols. It's something that's happened, 4 times in global Survivor history. Like it's a pretty big deal.
Okay. And I'm trying to think of the ones that I know of. And so the way that you phrase that. So really, I mean, in US Survivor, it's just James, right?
And Kelly Kim.
Oh, that's
a lot of people forget that happened that week.
That's the one we forget about.
Yeah, there was bigger stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, going on in the merge of 39. There was one in Survivor South Africa, and this
was a better episode than that.
Yeah. Was this a better episode than James?
This was a better week of Survivor than that week.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Yes. I mean, I think that James's exit, I think, is probably more iconic than this.
This is pretty iconic. I mean, I love the reverence that they have for the global franchise, that he even asked JLP, and JLP is like, an Australian Survivor, like, US Survivor would never acknowledge, nor should it. I mean, it's like the gold standard, but like, well, it's like the big brother, but it would never acknowledge like this has happened anywhere else because it wouldn't know. But the fact that JLP is like, it's happened in the US, but you're the first in Australian Survivor. And now Simon's had them like mounted, and he's got like a whole display of his two idols. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
and he broke a shoe. Is that the omen? You break your shoe on the way to vote?
Thong, Roz. We're on the Australian Survivor podcast.
Yes.
You use the right terminology.
Yes, and Simon is well known for a thong, right?
That's a budgie smuggler. We're getting close. So
sorry.
Sorry. Yeah, I mean, that's like the end of the week, and I guess if we're going to go through it, it really is that's the big moment. But it is a pretty, like, it's unfortunate that you knew it was coming, but I think it's a really big, it's a big thing. Like, two idols, huge blindside, his allies turn on him, a lot of stuff going on.
I mean, I know it's the 3rd episode of the week, and we have the other 2 to talk about, but I would just love to talk through, like, was there any wisdom potentially in getting out Danny here instead of Simon?
Yeah, I'd love to talk through all the possibilities here. Because basically, for the recap, Simon tells his allies Danny and Ham Sandwich. By the way, did you notice that Simon called Chelsea Hammer in a challenge?
I didn't. I didn't.
And now I know why. It was on the subtitles too. So just like the context of the amazing information we're getting from this podcast series. But he tells them like he has 2 idols, and they're like, now he's got to go. Especially Danny's like, that's too much. And at the time, and still probably now, I was like, he's really trying to work with you. Like, and he has idols to spare. Like, is this not a good thing? She's like, he's got to go. And before that, Haley had very much been like, does you think Simon should go at this point? And Danny was like, maybe you're right. So Haley's trying to work with Flick, make a 5. They're going to go for Simon. And Haley is going to put 3 votes on Danny so that if he does play one of his 2 idols, she's going to go home on the revote. So it's called the blindside of the blindside. The Sandra Bullock on the Sandra Bullock. Speed on speed. And
yes.
So it is interesting to think what else could be done here. Because the question we asked at the time was like, do you alert Simon to it? he stays with one idol, and Danny goes. What do you think of that?
I mean, I kind of like that. But I mean, it's hard for me to like not have my rooting interests where I
And
like
you're a
wanted Simon to
biased
say,
Australian Survivor
and
fan.
yeah, I'm filthy casual, and so I mean, for Danny, I feel like her only thing is like, I'm gonna get Simon, and so I don't know like why she like this was the end all be all, just to try to like talk that through, because the thing for Haley ultimately is that then okay, well, there's still 3 votes on Haley. I'm sorry, on Danny. And so now it's like, okay, you did the move on Simon, but you also sort of like revealed yourself that, okay, that there was a double cross going on of Danny. And so now you have Danny potentially, coming for you in the future. Not that we're worried for Haley, but I do feel like that there is some downside there where maybe you could curry some favor with Simon by telling him to play his idol, and then ultimately his allies are coming to get him.
Yeah. I didn't love that at the time because I just felt like, what do you
You
mean my
didn't love
allies?
which thing?
The idea of telling Simon, because the brain votes are necessary for Simon to play his idol. So it's not really a nice, friendly move to be like, play your idol. It's like, but then can't you just not vote for me? It's like, no, we're going to vote for you, but also tell you to play your idol. Like,
Sure.
that's a half measure around like, you're either working with Simon or not. I think that the blind side on Simon is good. I was wondering why they weren't doing it earlier. Why wasn't someone like Shannon doing it? Haley goes for the jugular, takes out a Joey, takes out a Simon, takes out a Shannon. Like that's a big thing. She does not do the second in command. She's like, you at the top of the food chain, you're gonna go. So I still think it would be a half measure to vote for Simon, for your votes to be the necessary swing votes, like the main brain contingent, most of the votes, to vote him out and then tell him to play the idol. But I still think there's maybe some other stuff.
But I was thinking to say that like at the tribal council, like Simon, Danny has voted for you. If you don't play your idol, you're going home tonight.
George style.
Yeah. And he's like, no, it can't be. Right.
Yeah, I think that either way, like that's an anti-social move that keeps Simon in the game, which is probably worse. I think this is an anti-social move that at least gets Simon out. So then it becomes, should Haley have done something this extreme to Danny? Like the congenial thing is you just vote and like you go into a probable merge with good relationships. This way she gets credit over Danny. Definitely. Like Danny's getting votes on her own blindside. Credit is gone. How much credit does Haley need? She's already such a baller. So TBD on that. But then you control it so much. Like one of the things I spoke to Haley about in the deep dive, she was like, I really needed to have control. I'm a control freak, which was super relatable for me. So, she could just kind of let it go. And maybe Simon plays an idol and then a flick goes. Is that the worst thing in the world? Like Haley couldn't let it happen. Or maybe I was thinking you just get Baden to tell just George and Cara vote for Danny. And again, you're not controlling that. That's Baden, that's George and Cara. But like then Simon would need to play his idol and George and Cara / Baden screw up that information. And they can still split like the 2 on the 1. So she could have done that. And then, no one will get blamed. Oh, sorry, it was a miscommunication. We're at tribal council. But Haley had to control 3 votes on Danny. Like, was this too much for you, do you think? Should she have let it go?
Should Haley have let it go?
Yeah, should Haley have just like let Flick be the backup? Like, is it the worst thing in the world? Like she probably is gonna lose relationships on this.
Right. Yeah, I feel like that she did work really hard to protect Flick. I mean, I guess it's sort of like if Flick is loyal and has that good relationship, I mean, it's really just like you're, having Danny and Ham Sandwich mad at you instead of like Flick who's loyal, and where's Flick going?
Yeah.
And so, I guess that there is a possibility of, like this Flick is the Gerald and Kez / Karen on the other side. So I don't know. I think that it's not the worst thing in the world for Haley. It was impressive.
Yes.
I don't know if it was necessary. That being said, for Danny, this is awful move, right?
Awful.
What are you thinking? What are you doing?
I know. She was like that bus. She couldn't slow down. Girl, take a breath. It's not right. It's not the right thing to do.
This was disastrous.
It was really bad. Like, you have an ally that trusts you so much to tell you, I have all this power, and I'm your closest ally, and let's work together collaboratively
now I must
on this.
destroy you.
What? Like,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like Simon in his own Simon puppy dog, but apparently villain way was so genuine, and Danny was just like, enough of that.
Yeah.
But you have to give some
I
credit
haven't
of that to
seen
Haley.
somebody this blinded since Bird Box.
Nice. How many? I don't know what other Sandra Bullock movies. I don't have any
I don't know.
more.
Let me get her IMDb open.
Yeah. I
Okay.
need it. Let me know. But how much credit do we give
Mm-hmm.
to Haley? Because we do see, I mean, obviously she's gonna get spoiler are
Yeah.
gonna edit, but like we do see, like before that, she's saying, when we're getting rid of Simon, oh, you know, this, and she's really putting, I feel like, you know, the genesis of that idea in Danny's head.
Mm-hmm.
You just look at the IMDb page.
Yeah, I'm
Too.
looking at IMDb
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah, I mean, she's in a free fall like Gravity.
Gravity.
Mm-hmm.
Peter hated that movie. I never saw it.
I don't remember anything from it.
Gravity is the one from when they were in space.
No, I remember when it happened, but I couldn't tell you. George Clooney is in it also.
Oh, nope. You know what? That was Julia Roberts. I thought I just watched her in something, but I'm just realizing that was Julia Roberts. That was a different movie.
Yeah, here I don't want to be distracted.
Okay. Well, anyway.
The queen stays queen. Different Sandra.
From what? No, not Julia Roberts. Sandra Bullock or Haley? Which queen?
Sandra, the Australian Survivor
Sandra
contestant.
Bullock's name
yes.
is Sandra. Yeah, I forgot because I
Yes.
think about Sandra Bullock. I don't think. Anyway, I was talking about Survivor. How much credit do we give to Haley for Danny making this horrible move?
A lot. I mean, people feel like that they can open up to Haley and she's in like a position of weakness. I mean, Haley has come in and completely destroyed what was going on there at the Brawn tribe. Like this 50-50 idol play really all comes down to, I mean, you got to give a chizzy point to Andrew for winning individual immunity to really help spring this into action and to Way as well. But you know, because they ended up immune at that one vote, Haley's able to, you know, set this whole plan into motion.
Yeah, it is funny that in 2 votes on this tribe, like
And
Shannon and
Purple
Simon.
Baden who?
What? He did so much.
I mean, he doesn't. He barely talks anymore.
What? He was the whole person giving the information to. I gave him a chizzy point this week.
At Tribal.
I think. Yeah, that he was like what? He's second in command over there, Rob. Your Andrew Jake is terrible.
Haley. It's all Haley.
It is all Haley, but so I just can't with the Andrew Jake. It was just so terrible. But I do think it's funny that Shannon and Simon spend many weeks on Brawn trying to take each other out, failing. Haley comes to 2 tribal councils to take them both out back to back. Like that. That's pretty good. And something we see often, I think, like maybe less than a pre-merge, but like 2 rivals going out back to back and they're so fixated on each other.
Yeah, you call it back to back, but I feel like it's like back to back. I feel like it's got to be consecutive tribal councils.
It was for them.
It was for them, but you
know, they can't control. Anyway,
I
agree. Horrible move for Danny, who chooses to even throw the challenge. She's not even like.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that part of it. Yeah.
Wait, I have tea on that.
Yes.
I don't know if this is public knowledge. I don't remember what was divulged 2 years ago, but now I feel like, you know, NDAs are over. There was, I don't know if this is a scoop, but there were, I don't even know if I've spoken about it on a podcast, but that challenge was really hard, clearly, like that balancing challenge with the balls.
Okay.
So eventually production were like, okay, if one of you wants to lose, we will give you party pies and sausage rolls. And they were like, great. And they
what's a party pie?
It's like a small pie.
Like a apple type pie?
No, like a meat. Do you have meat pies?
Okay, yeah, all right, meat pie. Okay, we don't really.
You don't?
But yeah,
that's a very Australian thing.
Yeah, and then what was the other thing? A sausage
roll. Do you not have a sausage roll?
I don't think so. What is a sausage roll?
That's crazy. It's literally like a sausage in a pastry.
Yeah.
Kind of like, I guess, maybe pigs in a blanket, which is something, again, as a Jewish vegetarian, is so above my pay grade, but I think like that. But it's like in a pastry.
Yeah.
You don't have sausage rolls? Wow.
I mean, we have pig in a blanket. Yeah, we don't really have a sausage roll.
Like, I feel like if you watch the footy, you'd have like pies and you'd have like sausage rolls.
Hasn't caught on here yet.
That's sad.
Maybe it will. Maybe it will.
Yeah, well, that was.
I feel like that this is one restaurant that we don't have. There's no like Australian food restaurant.
What about Outback Steakhouse?
I guess, that's right. But it's really,
But I feel like that's not. Yeah, I feel like we don't claim.
Mhm.
That's probably like
They have
someone
no
who's
rules.
never been to Australia.
Mhm.
Yeah, they should be like authentic. It would basically just be like Australian barbecue.
Mhm.
Sausage
Yeah.
rolls.
Where Marianne can come and eat a koala.
We're not serving koala.
No
Okay.
rules, just
No.
right.
No. And Marianne filmed them eating all that weird meat and never put it on social media. I'm realizing now.
Maybe
She
she's
really did.
waiting. She's editing it.
Well, edit it all out because it was all disgusting to me. But
Mhm.
anyway, Marianne, for the people who don't know, Marianne came to Australia, ate her way through our national animals. George was there for some of it, and that's what we're referring to. But what else happened? So
She had a
that was a big
golden
episode.
ticket for eating as many Australian animals as she wanted.
It was like a bingo card that no one asked of her in any capacity.
Mhm.
That was what she went was her bucket list, but it was different. It was like a KFC bucket more than a real bucket.
Mhm.
Yeah. So you did you like this episode, or you're just sad that Simon went? It was just like
I mean, I was disappointed that Simon ultimately ends up going here. I mean, it's this clearly the best episode of the week. I mean, this was like again a sleepy
we'll pick up. It's gonna pick
a
up.
sleepy
Oh my
week.
god.
I have some other questions about the rest of the week, but yeah, it was just like I'm sure a momentous blindside when you were watching it in the first time, but had this been like this is the week that I kind of knew what was going to happen with Simon. I
Yeah.
knew Simon's destiny. Then it was kind of a buzzkill.
Well, this is the origin of George and Simon, their first ever tribal council together, the first of many, where
Oh
George is totally
yeah.
responsible for Simon going home.
And freaking Danny is like, George, you're turning this into a circus.
Yeah. Well, she's
So
trying to control
sorry,
the blindside.
Danny.
Yeah, you don't know what a circus is, Danny, okay? Watch episode 7 of Heroes versus Villains in a year and a half, and we'll talk about a circus. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they came
Yeah.
to that.
You
I'm just
really want to see Simon look bad at a tribal council? You just wait, Danny.
yeah, that is not the worst tribal council that Simon will have with George, and Simon went home with 2 idols, so yeah. Simon and Idol, I don't think he ever wants to hear that word again. He's definitely not watching The Idol, probably because of all the reviews, but also because of yeah.
Australian Survivor is just a show that people go on and then are mean to Simon.
Yeah,
Like,
and he loves it so much. Like, why does he have such a good experience with it?
yeah. Can Simon ever go like and be on Survivor and not have people just like constantly like betraying him? Like he's like, I wish I had a friend.
Now you've seen the entirety of Simon. It's him being on the bottom at Brawn, then being with Haley, but not really, and then he gets voted out with 2 idols in his pocket, and then he comes back for Heroes versus Villains, where it somehow gets so much worse. Like that's it. You've seen the entirety of his Survivor career now, and you feel bad about it.
Yeah. I mean, really, he's just like constantly like, hey guys, like I have a plan, like let's work together. And they're like, idiot. Well, now it's your turn to go home.
This was on Danny. Why? To this day, I wonder why. I mean, other than Haley, but it made no sense to me. That was like a clear ally. Yeah, but it's interesting thinking through Haley's moves because like I don't think it's a spoiler to say like clearly some fallout on it's a big move like and Haley in the last 2 weeks and you said you didn't see much about her. She's a big player. 2 weeks has shown you that.
She didn't really do anything the first couple of weeks. And he's Mitch, the Mitch blindside. She was But I mean, now she's doing stuff. I mean,
yeah, but it's huge.
That's not on me.
This is more of a Survivor resume in the last 6 episodes than most players will have in a lifetime.
Very big couple of weeks for Haley. Where was Ham Sandwich in all this?
I don't know. You ask a lot of questions about Ham Sandwich that I cannot answer, Rob.
Well, this is just like it's a mystery box for me where it's like, okay, there were like 2 people that betrayed Simon. One we heard from constantly, and the other one was just like, we don't know.
Yeah, what was she naming the blind side? Which actress was she naming the blind side after? We don't know. We'll never know. We're gonna get to know her though, because she's really gonna come out of the blocks as a huge.
This is one of the lies. This is one of the lies.
Who knows? Who knows? Maybe she's gonna be the most entertaining person you've ever met. Could happen. Yeah. Maybe we're gonna get her home package, which I do think we've already had. But maybe with some people burst out of the gates 13 episodes in, literally. Maybe
Mm-hmm.
that'll be ham
Yeah.
sandwich.
I mean, we'll see.
Maybe. It's not gonna
Yeah, I don't think so.
happen. Yeah, I have nothing on ham sandwich, but yeah, I'm just like, I really watched this move from Haley. I just wanted to see how I felt about it, and we'll talk it through as because
Mm-hmm.
it's a big move. I just, now looking at it, I just wonder if maybe Cara and George should have been the split. Because even Danny at the end
That would have
said,
been
one
better.
of you voted for me.
Yes.
Because she assumes Cara and George, I guess.
And maybe she can, she can blame them. But still, yeah, one of them did. It's 3 votes on Danny.
Yeah, and they all 3 did. And the thing is, as well, is that it's such a good excuse because, like, oh, that was just a miscommunication. Like, it was at Tribal Go. I didn't know what on earth was going on. Like, that's such a good, like, no one told them to vote for you. Like, it was completely lost in translation.
Right, and you didn't need 3 votes, right?
Well,
you needed 2.
Well, they would have had 3 because Simon's 1, and then I guess if Cara and George think Flick's on the bottom, like, they would come in thinking it's Flick. So if they're going to pile 2, then you need 3 to match their 3 to win on the revote. This is like hyper control, Haley. This is what I'm saying. Like, that does actually, like, protect every contingency. Does Haley need to protect every contingency? That's probably the debate that will be had for the next 2 years in the future.
Well, and that's the thing. I feel like that you really can't protect against every single contingency on Survivor. Most of the time, you can try, but I think that you ultimately have to go with whatever is going to be the most likely scenario, and then ultimately, like, go all in on that one most likely scenario. And I feel like that trying to protect against every single contingency that may or may not happen, I feel like the kind of stuff that's going to get you into trouble.
Well, it beautifully mirrors life, doesn't it? Like, that is the thing. It's like, does Haley push too hard to control everything, which she absolutely does, and it's baller, and the voting confessional is great. I'll take it from here. But does she need to? Could she have, Simon may not even play the idol. And if he does, maybe we could get them to split. And if they, like George and Cara, and if they don't, Flick will go home. It's not me. Like, it kind of feels like there are steps removed. But Haley did, in baller fashion, control it all. And then it becomes like, how hard you push to control. I think it's an interesting query for life. It resonates with me.
Absolutely. Sure. There are certainly, like, low probability events that could be major problems for us, but, you can't spend all of your time and energy worrying about, things that are very low probability events happening.
But I can try. I can try to spend all my time.
You could try, but that could be worse than potentially the low probability event.
Wow. Why are we being so meaningful right now? Let's talk more about Sandra Bullock movies that we watched with our grandparents.
Sure.
This is just like great life advice. It's true. It's probably true.
I mean, I don't think I watched any Sandra Bullock movies with my grandparents.
What movies did you watch with your grandparents?
I don't really recall. The Wizard of Oz. I mean, didn't watch a ton of movies with them.
That's sad. Not in a sad way, just in a you didn't happen to watch any movies with them. I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I watched Joseph and the Technicolor Dreamcoat a bunch with my grandma. That was the main one. Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe, yeah. Any Josephs on this season?
No.
But
I compared George to Joseph from Joseph and the Technicolor Dreamcoat last week. He was down in the dumps, and now he's kind of emerging. We haven't spoken about George at all, basically. We actually kind of have through Simon, but not his tribal council. So the other stuff this week didn't grab you. The Georgia Rachel double.
Yeah, I guess that I have much more to say about episode 11 than episode 10, but I guess let's talk about them in chronological order, because then I will have nothing to say about episode 10 if we talk about it second.
I mean, this is going to be hard to recap because even now they kind of like erase from my brain. When I was going through the whole boot order in my mind, I feel like Georgia or Rachel, which order is that? That was the trickiest part for me. Like, that is a very like Groundhog Day kind of 1-2.
Don't make me watch this week over and over.
Well, we do. We'll do it every 2 years. So that's when we're going to do the rewatch. So, okay. So the recap of that episode is Georgia comes back and they're having Mexican food.
Clucky's Tacos. How popular is Clucky's Tacos?
There is no Clucky's Tacos.
Oh, that is made up? That's made up?
I mean, as far as I'm aware, I've never had Clucky's Tacos.
Is Clucky a person on Australian Survivor production?
What, do you think he's our stew?
Yes, I think Clucky might be the stew.
They do these names, I feel.
Mm-hmm. Who's
Of
Clucky?
why did they say Clucky?
Clucky's
Who's Clucky?
Tacos.
Everyone on this cast, based on how many babies have been born or being born.
Hmm.
Do you have
Okay.
Clucky as a word, or is that
Let's
joke just
see.
well over your head?
What Clucky?
Yeah, like you want a baby. That's what Clucky. You have that in America.
Shannon, you are losing me. Wait,
What?
Clucky,
This
you,
happens.
you have a baby that's Clucky?
No. When you want to have a baby, you're Clucky. This happens to me all the time because I
Does
make a
that
joke and then
that's
Mike doesn't laugh,
similar
and
as
it's
like thirsty, like H
yes.
word?
No, but no. You want a baby,
You want to
not the
get
actions that
clucked?
lead
Is
to
that what you're saying?
how strong desire to have a baby. It's Australian. What? This happens to me all the time where I tell a joke and Mike doesn't laugh, and then I look it up later, and it was an Australian thing. What? Clucky is an Australian
Now,
saying.
is it clucky? Is it like that? Can you be clucky without a desire to have a baby, or clucky
No.
is only the desire to be? It's like my biological clock is
Well, yes.
ticking.
Yeah, but it's not that.
Wouldn't you
It's
be
sitting or ready
clocky
to
at
sit
that
on eggs.
point?
No, because it's sitting or ready to sit on eggs, but it definitely is about the biological clock. Wow,
Okay.
I'm learning so much today, like about life, about Australian slang. You're
Mm-hmm.
learning. That's amazing. But that was a great joke, and I'm glad that I explained it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the Clucky is that, and also the name
A
of
lot
this
of
taco
people
place.
from this season
That
were
was
pretty
my joke.
clucky. Yeah.
That's how this came up. Full circle. Anyway, yes, that is it. They're all Clucky. They're all having kids.
Was there something in the tacos?
And that's what it was?
Maybe.
Well, a lot of the people who had kids
Weren't
had
there.
gone home, yeah, or went there. So
Mm-hmm.
Simon's having a baby. It actually is crazy what's happening
Yeah.
right now.
Okay.
Anyway, so
Clucky's Tacos.
Georgia comes back, and then she gets voted out. That's basically that episode.
Mm-hmm.
Episode
Yeah.
11. No,
Yes. Clucky's
the
Tacos.
that's
I
the
don't know why I
main noise
wrote
you
this in
have.
my notes. The real reward is the friends we made along the way. That's how Georgia feels.
Oh, that's terrible.
I don't
Is that
think
what
she
she
said
said?
that. I don't think she said that. I think this is me summarizing how she's being at the taco reward.
Okay, well, the main point of contention.
Oh, Georgia came back also? Yeah.
Georgia came back.
Georgia came
Yeah.
back.
Yeah.
It's basically this is like Grandpa Simpson comes in, puts his hat on the rack, and then picks it up and then walks back out. That's Georgia
Yeah.
in this episode.
A joke more people probably would have made if we didn't feel bad about making fun of her medical immunity for like a proper real medical issue. But I also feel like last week when I said she had a real medical issue, I was spoiling by accident that she wasn't going to make it much further for you. Did I? You hadn't
Little.
thought a
I
lot
mean,
about it. Yeah.
her edit is spoiling it much more that she's not going to make it much further than anything that you said.
People who are purple can make it far. That is like, you know, they have to get rid of every purple person to be a mass cull like pretty soon. So
yeah. Look,
yeah.
I said I felt like that this is going to be a rough. I didn't know how Laura, Rachel, and Georgia were getting through this week. 2 out of 3 don't.
But you love Laura.
Laura is my favorite of the 3. If I can like draft like which one I could have given the medical immunity to, give me Laura.
What, Laura,
for sure.
Rachel, Georgia? That's
big gap. Yeah, Laura, then Rachel, then Georgia. Like, because I feel like that Rachel at least has a personality, and Georgia, like, I feel like we didn't see it on the show.
We really didn't. Crazy that she made it to Dancing with the Stars. No, that continues to be a lie. We don't know what Georgia's doing. Yeah. So the main suspense is, will Kez flip to be with the women to a 4-4 tie with seemingly no plan after that?
Why?
Yeah, for no reason as well. So
for no reason.
She's still kind of pissed off about the Danny thing, but like, get over it, man. It's been 4 years.
But it really seemed like, and I don't know if you know like how real like any of this was, but the episodes I'm like, oh, Kez is the secret weapon, and she's having these conversations with them, and she seems like she's really thinking about it, and even at tribal council, she's talking about it, and I'm like, I don't know, like it seems like she's really gonna do this, and then she doesn't, and she shouldn't have. But I don't know why she was even thinking about it.
Was she? I mean, I don't know. I'm trying to think. My exit interview with Kez in my mind was quite vague, maybe. I'm sure I would have asked her. But I don't know. Is it better to be And I think she was saying things in confessionals, and like they can always be frank about it. She's still pissed off about Danny, but is it better to be Kez, who's like, maybe it entertains it, so at least they think they don't turn against her, but they could be annoyed with her after, or Emmett, who's like, nope to their face.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's better to be nope to their face. I feel like that
Do you
this
think
was the
so?
lesson with like going back to like Monica Culpepper in Survivor Blood versus Water. Everybody was annoyed with Monica, and she would hear out like the people on the bottom every single time, and then she wouldn't vote with them, and then they'd be like, gosh darn it, Monica. Like she's like, I gotta do what's best for Monica, and they were annoyed with her. Whereas Simon, what a Freudian slip, Tyson would be like, nope, there's your seat over there, and then he gets at the end the credit.
Yeah, I think there's pros and cons. Like I think that the pro is that people will be less pissed off with you in the long run. Like definitely good for a jury, but they're going to be jurors in weeks from now. It's day 25, but that doesn't mean that we're ending tomorrow. Like that's literally going to be like 3 weeks from now. So from a jury perspective, better. From like an immediate target, like they immediately go back to target Emmett. Like he might feel that he has that on lock, but it does kind of make you enemy number one for that time and just probably pisses them off less in the long run. I think like what we're told is to like falsely engage with people, right? Like lie to them, manipulate them. Like that's Survivor. Like if one of them has an idol, you don't want them to have all the information. The information being, we're not working with you. Like, don't you want to snow people?
I think that there is like a point, and you don't want to pass the point of no return, where you want to like have the conversations, but I think that you like can't lead them on to the point where they think that that you are with them, and then you are ultimately not with them. So I think you want to be able to like, I'm thinking about it. Boy, love to hear more about this idea. That's interesting. That's interesting. I think that you want to sort of like be in the interesting, where it's not like I'm interested.
Yeah, like when I get a pitch at work, I say I will file this for consideration. Will I? Sometimes, not always. I don't know if I should admit that online, but
Rob, I've got this great idea for a new podcast. Like, oh, that's interesting. Okay, interesting.
You shouldn't admit that online. My thing's separate to this. That's a lot of information, but it all comes out here on the Australian Survivor podcast, which is a great tradition. I think like you say point of no return in terms of like how much they believe her. I think there's a point of no return in like it's the Monica Culpepper thing. Like she did it over and over again. With Kez, she's not even the person they go to next time. They're like, that's done. I think once is fine. You don't want to be the person.
I think she really was thinking about it, really, because I think that
she really was.
The three were making this argument like, hey, that if you 5, you're just playing a boring numbers game. And I think that like, Kez was a little bit like, yeah, this is boring. This is boring, just voting out these 3.
And it was. Was it not so boring?
It was boring. Like they were right. They were right. But also the boring numbers game is also called Survivor. And so don't chastise the group of 5 for voting out the group of 3.
It's crazy how much people use that argument and how it like can affect people clearly. And it's just not a good, like it doesn't make any sense as an argument. Who cares if it's boring? I mean, I feel like George would care. Someone like George. And ironically, this is like the most like congenial, stable stretch George probably ever has, which is good. You need a bit of time to rest.
Yeah.
But
So they vote out Georgia, and I did write it's boring. Yeah.
But it was boring. It was very boring. And then Emmett's very much like no, which was interesting that he took that.
Yeah. Can we talk a little bit about Emmett and his leadership of this tribe? Because I do feel like that while, we see George more in the edit, like Emmett is the de facto leader of New Brains. And and it's interesting because I feel like that this is like a situation where like Emmett was definitely not the leader of the original Brawn tribe. He was at the bottom, but it's interesting when Survivor gives us these situations like post tribe swap where like an unlikely person ends up in this leadership position of like being the leader of like a new swap tribe, even though they were not really the leader of their original tribe. And I just think it's like an interesting like leadership test. And I don't think Emmett does particularly great during this, but he like gets his shot to be the person who's making the decisions in this group. And I think that's always fun to watch.
Well, I think Emmett's a very predictable leader. If anything, it's
Yes.
more surprising he wasn't a leader on Brawn and was like left to the whims of Shannon, which is so much more fun, and was like saved for his strength. I think a lot over someone like Gavin or Simon was as well. And now, like from the second they swap, he's on the mat like Brawn. Stay together, you know, like he's had so much say. He's like really taken over, which is funny because he switches with Kez and Gerald, who were two people he was not aligned with on Brawn, and Danny, who was flip flopping, and himself, and then Kara, who we just met, and George, who we literally just met, and then the brains. And he's the one who pulls it all together. I think like that natural big alpha guy personality comes out, and it's like much more a settled position for him. I was impressed with Emmett. I gave him 2 chizzy points this week for what I'm trying to think. I mean, for throwing the challenge, I think I liked that. Gerald came up with it in what we saw, but I gave the points to Emmett for steering the ship. I mean, they vote out the people that he wants them to vote out. Like he does keep it on lock through all of that. So I guess that strength in that was what I must have been impressed with.
Yeah. It's just interesting to watch how this goes for Emmett, where I feel like that for Emmett, I feel like that things are not going that great. I think that he doesn't realize that things aren't going great.
Why do you say it's not like what are you disappointed by in the way he's playing or his position?
Well, I think that what he does not see is that the people that he is aligning with to take out the people that he is taking out would be more likely to work with him than the people that he is and I guess Kara has been like the person like Kara is a believer to Emmett, but he's working with George. And so for George is ultimately, I feel like, going to, work to undermine Emmett, and he's keeping George around. And I feel like that the Laura's and George's and Rachel's, I think, would probably be more likely to team up with Brawn than George, who he's working with, to take those people out.
I mean, I don't know if they'd be more likely to team up because they have more of a place to go. Like they have each other. George has had no one. So I guess that would be his thinking. I think on relationships, he's taking out the right people. I think on skill level, like give me a Georgia over a George, but he doesn't know that yet. None of us know that yet. George isn't George yet. Will be at a point. But, you wouldn't keep in George for all we know about George now. But like at the time, like what? George has nothing. So like, why is he so dangerous? He's just a guy giving a ton of confessionals who was saved by you and an idol, and then possibly an honor limb if he hadn't used the idol. Like George had nothing. So I get that for Emmett. Like he picked up. Yeah, George was down in the dumps, much like Joseph.
Let's talk about episode 11, where Rachel, we get a real mood episode for Rachel.
Poor Rachel. She has the package. Like we finally learn who Rachel is. That was the only reason I was like, who goes? I think it's Georgia. Is it Rachel? And then I was like, no, I remember she got like a final package, which she hasn't had. So she must survive this episode. Yeah. And we meet Rachel and then we lose her. Like much like Georgia, like the Grandpa Simpson meme pretty much.
Yeah. But to me, this is the one that I thought Emmett was going home. I really was surprised.
Yeah, this was interesting. This was an actual decision, not like
Kevin's. I was really surprised that George didn't vote with Rachel and Laura here. And I guess that George must have hated Rachel so much.
Yeah, this is an interesting
because in the next episode starts, he's like, all right, now Laura, we go to work. Now's the time to go to work. It's like
3-3.
You could have voted out Emmett last night.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because in 2021, me was like, I don't know if George knows that Emmett's against him. But in the show, he clearly says, like, Kara doesn't know and I know, and that's a difference. It might have been a Frankenbite, but we get that. And I think with Laura, he's like, I want to tell Laura that there's no ill will towards her. He never said that to Georgia and Rachel.
He clearly had ill will to Rachel. Like, too many times Rachel was like, George, enough of that.
Which is funny because Rachel's
Stop talking at the mat.
Laura never saved George. Like, Rachel was one of the votes that saved George at the Joey vote, and that did nothing for their relationship. It's crazy how that was just like, she did that for Haley, and then she swapped with George.
Snapping at him.
George has not been great to Rachel. George is my close personal friend, and I
don't see what you're talking about.
It's interesting that you say that, because I have something. Is this the time? I got a handwritten letter from Way.
Yes.
Last week I made a joke, like, do you need a handwritten letter from Way? Because he was still so upset that she turned on George.
Yes.
Even though she immediately turned back at the Joey vote.
Yes.
And I encouraged her to write that letter, and she did.
Oh, she wrote a letter to this podcast? Okay, and took a picture of it. Okay.
Yeah, so I'm going to try to read her handwriting. Okay. Now, if it were me, It's a very nice letter. It actually made me feel bad how nice it was, because if it were me, I would have been like, "Dear Rob, sorry I turned on George that one time. He anyway had an idol played on him, and it would have been an honor limb. And as you
Mhm.
know, he goes on to have like quite a stellar run in this season and then another
Mhm.
season. So I
No,
think
I
you're all
don't think I
fine." But
was so egotistical that I asked for a handwritten letter to me, right?
no, but then I said, "Do you want a letter?" And that was
Okay.
what that's what you said
Okay.
to
Yeah.
George. And I
To
said, "You seem
George.
more upset about it. Do you want a letter?" Now we have
Mhm.
one. Anyway,
Okay.
dear Rob, how are you?
Good.
Okay. I'm enjoying yours and Shan's rewatch and recap of Brains versus Brawn, and I thought I should draft Shaz suggested and encouraged it. A Survivor
Yes.
loved one style handwritten letter to say I'm sorry.
I'm tearing
Going
up.
it gets worse, more like sadder for you. Going against George and his alliance was the wrong decision in that moment. I made a personal choice that I know made me come off as ungrateful, which is far from who I am. I am grateful, underlined, to have subsequently learned lots from the amazing strategists, George and Haley. They are undoubtedly top tier players, and we are so lucky to have them on our screens. I like to think that it's okay to make mistakes as a player and as a human being. I embrace that, and as George has noted, we made great TV.
Yeah.
Smiley face. Enjoy the
Wow.
rest of the ride. It is an incredible season, one that I'm proud to have been a part of. Poor decision making, warts and all. Thanks for all that you do for the fans, and maybe I'll have the privilege and the honor to meet you in person one day. Until then, all the best.
Wow.
Take care, or take all best. Until then, take all
Wow.
best care. I don't know. Wait.
That was beautiful.
Yeah.
And wait,
You
I
feel
make
bad?
mistakes all the time.
Not me. No, I did.
Yeah.
I said that I made a mistake about the Amazon finale in Talking Tribal, in the finale of Talking Tribal, and like so many people messaged me. Never make mistakes. That's what the lesson
No, it's
is.
well, that's beautiful what Wei said.
It was really beautiful. So many
Hmm.
life lessons on this podcast. See, I would have roasted you way harder for me.
Yeah, I appreciate
I would
that.
have been like, get over it. It's been 4 years. But
Yeah.
Way really took it to a place where I think you should feel bad.
I
You feel
mean,
a little bit bad.
I can feel like I made a mistake too.
What was it?
That's such a good question.
Because you think that she
Because
shouldn't have made that decision.
she
Yeah.
shouldn't have made the decision, but
Maybe you
I
should
think
have tried
I
harder
was
to see your point of view.
so I think my mistake was thinking that Wei wasn't listening to the podcast. That was
I
where
told you she won
that was
so
where
many
I made
times.
my mistake.
I told you she was listening.
Yes. And then I
Yeah.
doubled down and said that she should write George a letter. And I didn't think and again I was mistaken that she wouldn't do that.
Yeah,
But
you're
she
also
did.
mistaken for having me as a co-host and not knowing that I would be like, I think you should write Rob a letter.
Yes. So
then
so mistakes were made, clearly.
then she left it. Then I said, definitely write the letter. Haha. We record Thursday night. I
Mm-hmm.
pushed it hard, Rob.
Yes.
So your
Okay.
mistake wasn't underestimating me.
And then I underestimated that you would make sure that this happened. So several mistakes. Maybe I've made more mistakes than Wei at this point on this.
Yeah. Well, we didn't like what she did at the Shannon Tribal too.
Mm-hmm.
But that's fine.
Yeah,
People can.
that's separate. No letter required.
Wave's the best. Anyway,
Mm-hmm.
thank you, Wave, for that. Thank you
Yes,
for.
appreciate it, Wei.
All right. Why? How did we get into that tangent? Because
I think you had the letter.
No, I did. It's in my notes. Read the letter.
Mm-hmm. Well, we had letters this week.
Yeah, I think that's what she was alluding to.
Mm-hmm.
Randomly got letters.
Randomly, bizarre.
Do you want to know why?
Okay, sure.
Because it's day 25 and US Survivor. The show is done. Let them have their letters.
Is it halfway?
It was half. Yeah, that's a good one. It was halfway.
Yes. Yeah. So here's your halfway letters, everybody.
Yeah, which is fine. And then we got to learn about people. Baden.
Mm-hmm.
Haley. That's going to be important.
Okay.
Want to know about Haley?
Sure.
Yeah. You didn't like that?
It was fine.
It was fine.
Yeah.
But no, there was a reason there was a reason that I went on to.
Yeah.
We're talking about George. George hating Rachel, maybe.
Yeah, Haley. Yeah, Haley's fiance. Looked like they had such nice things. I was like imagining, like, can I imagine like my wife writing a letter to me, and I could not.
What?
I could not imagine like.
She wouldn't write you a letter?
I don't know, that seemed like a very romantic like letter that was received by Haley.
Yeah.
Like I
No,
want to sit
having a
on a
baby.
bench with you. Like
A
wow, that
lot
seems
about
nice.
benches this week. What's going on with that?
Yes.
Very bench heavy
Yes.
week for
Was
me.
Tom
But
Hanks her loved one?
yes. No, that one's a
Mm-hmm.
lie. That was a clear lie. I mean, maybe
Mm-hmm.
Haley's so amazing. Who knows? She could be related to Tom Hanks, and it would be like the 10th most interesting thing about her. But
Hmm.
the first being she won Survivor, I guess. Anyway, what else? Okay, so George was making a decision. So the decision is, does he want to? Because he's concerned because if Laura goes home, who next? Probably him, and it's just Laura now. If Laura even found an idol, who would they like split on? Concerns abound. I mean, they would have
Yeah.
to split without George telling them how to split. They'd probably struggle with that. But what's he going to do? So that he could go with Rachel and Laura and him and Kara, and actually even without Kara, based on the split, he could have done it. It would have been a 3-2-2.
Mm-hmm.
Or, and he says he's considering it because he like makes the split that way so he can do it. Or he keeps going with his alliance. And you don't think this was a good move to keep going with the alliance?
It's so hard. I feel like I guess what would happen next is the question to ask. So okay, George goes with Rachel and Laura and votes out Emmett, and then all of a sudden like Gerald and Kez like are freaking pissed, and then Rachel and Laura are probably like, yeah, we don't even like Georgia either.
Yeah,
Like,
that
let's
is a
just
good
vote out
point.
George. So
Yeah.
I really did think he was going to do it, but talking it through, I can understand why he didn't.
Yeah, it probably would make Gerald and Kez into something of swing votes
And they would
because, yeah,
instantly, and Rachel Laura would instantly turn on George, like
yeah,
where
that is a good
like
point.
Gerald and Kez were like George, you snake, how could you do this? We saved you, and
Yeah,
then that Rachel would be like, yeah, he is a snake.
I know. And it's so rare that it's like, it's not just that they've been against each other. They voted out George. He was saved by Kara's idol, but like literally he was their primary target. He should be out. They voted out Rachel. She was saved by Laura's idol and the whole Danny thing. And then they voted out Laura and she was saved by a twist. Like they're not only just against each other, they've all actively voted each other out of the game, like with the intention, like you should not be here tonight in a way that should have had a majority vote, like should have been a plan that worked. And they're
Mm-hmm.
all still there. Like those aren't people in hindsight. I was also like, I can't believe George didn't do it. And 2 years later, I think you make a good point.
I
Yeah,
really
they
did
can't
think he
work
was.
together.
I really did think he was going to.
Yeah, it makes sense because it's getting dicey. Like I think it's very concerning that like it's just Laura. Then it's gonna be like then assuming like Simon didn't go, like assuming they lost a challenge, which you would bet on.
Mm-hmm.
Then it's gonna be final 13. That's a big merge. They are gonna merge, but like where to from there? They need to start winning a challenge. They need an early merge. George maybe needs an idol, but it would have been dicey, I think. So,
Mm-hmm.
but I get it. You're right. It's like that one move just emboldens Laura and Rachel to completely take out George at another point. Like at least he has Laura as fodder.
Yeah, Rachel was just like so dug in, and then also dug in against George, but also against Emmett. Like she had like made enemies out of like both sides.
Yeah. So Emmett actually would have been like not the target. I feel like if I was going to vote out someone from that side, maybe you vote out Kez. Like they've been working with Kez to some degree, or at least have a relationship with Kez. You don't want to leave her. Like at least leave it be Gerald and Emmett, and maybe like Rachel doesn't want to work with Emmett, and she votes out Emmett next time. But even then, I think you're right. They weren't gonna. That's not a long-term solution. But something interesting here. Rachel says to Haley at the challenge, like it's me, and we definitely spoke about it at the time. But I couldn't remember what we said in the deep dive because I thought Haley can pass over an idol for what had been like a very close ally.
Yes.
Rachel, the whole Brains tribe was like a really close ally. So I asked Haley, why not? And she said, we were in a minority split so often. Even after 50-50, we still only had 4-4. It felt too risky. She said I was going to pass her a fake idol. That would
be an insane move for Haley to give an idol.
Would it be
Rachel.
bigger than what she's done in the last 2 weeks, though?
I mean, but it would be bad. It would be a bad move to do.
She said I was going to pass her a fake idol and make sure someone else saw me do it, but that felt more risky.
Wow, that's pretty.
Haley's thinking on every level. Yeah, I mean, look, they could split, right? So it was 5-2. So even then, like you save Rachel, but you've lost a brain, Laura, and then Rachel's probably gone next, and now you don't have an idol. I get it. 2 years later, a lot of things like when you're so in the weeds, you're like, why did you do this, and this, and then you take 2 years of space to be like, oh yeah, because of that clear thing. Yeah,
not really a great move. I think that Haley has got to like hold on to that idol for herself. more valuable for her.
I see your point.
Mm-hmm.
I hear
Yeah.
that. Yeah. I have nothing else. I don't want to say more. It's so hard to do this when I've watched the season. Keep going.
Yeah.
Keep talking.
Yeah. We haven't talked about the candy store. We talked about the tribal council for episode 12, but we didn't really talk about the business leading up to it. By the way, just going back to my notes, after Simon gets voted out, the closed captioning said that Flick, after it happened, she said that was pig. Now,
I didn't get that.
I don't.
No,
Well, I don't. Did she say that was big, or is that
probably...
that was pig? Is that's not an Australian expression?
Well, you think
right?
we have all the farm animals? Clucky, pig? No, just some of them. Just some of them.
Yeah, that was just a mistake from the closed captioning.
Yeah, I had 10 plays closed captions on, and I remember seeing that. But do you want me to text? I can text.
No, that's fine. No, not necessary. Leave it alone.
Okay,
that's fine.
Right.
That's fine. But
like, write you a letter.
But the words on the bottom of my screen said that was pig, and then you see the words, and then you hear it, and like, did she say that was pig or that was big? And I'm like, maybe a pig is gross. I could see that as an expression.
Wow, I wish I'd lied, but I chose not to.
Okay,
it's too hard. Too many things are actually weird. I want you to know the truth.
Yes. All right. Well, I'd like to talk about the reward and then also the advantage that happens at the reward.
Yes.
Trip to the Survivor candy store. Okay. Boy, JLP was going like full Wonka of that you get a golden ticket to go to his candy store.
I know. I'm really upset that he wasn't just full like turnaround background dancers like come with me. That would have been great. Like, how much would you have paid for that?
If he gets like the top hat and the cane,
yeah,
he can pull it off.
Yeah, that would have been amazing. Like, we lost out from that. They really could have just like, that would have been full tilt boogie. But anyway, it's fine.
Yeah. Okay.
Where's the Emmy though? Where's the Logie for JLP's Willy Wonka
impression? The Logie, that's the L to the OG.
Again, I could have lied, but yeah, it's just Logie. Where does that rank on your list of EGOTs?
Australian Television Award?
It's easily the lowest, Rob.
I mean, I think it's probably below a Grammy.
It's very, very low. I'm realizing how much claim to fame podcast stuff I'm like, because I just was listening to it like right before I podcasted, and I feel like I was in a conversation with you, but I wasn't, and now I'm in a real conversation with you, and I'm continuing it on.
So. When you are like have conversations with the people that are on the podcast, like it is unusual.
Yeah, it's like the parasocial relationship we once had. I like to think it's now just a social relationship.
But all right, the candy store. I would hope, I wish that there was like a place for the Survivor contestants to like scrub in before they do the candy store, because I was getting like the heebie-jeebies by like all the survivors and their dirty hands.
Yeah,
like, I mean, sticking their hands in all the loose candy.
Really I mean, that's the whole thing. So like basically, obviously, US Survivor started this in Heroes, Healers, Hustlers with the spaghetti.
But how can I eat a gummy worm after everybody's had their disgusting hands in the jar?
That's the thing? The gummy worms?
I wouldn't go for it. I mean, I'm not a gummy worm guy.
No.
Yeah. But like the stuff that's like especially like kind of like gummy and sticky, I feel like it's just
the whole thing was sticky. The whole thing but they do that. They think of the grossest possible environments, cake, like sweets like this, like sticky
but I can
stuff.
grab a brownie, and it's not like that.
It was the white chocolate that was so gross.
I would not have the white chocolate under any circumstances.
You're not a white chocolate guy?
No.
Disagree. Hardcore disagree. People let me know because people
dark chocolate.
I hate dark chocolate.
Oh.
So
we're opposites.
I don't want to do this again because a couple of weeks ago with the whole dunking a biscuit in tea thing. And I said, never do it. And then the dunkers came for me.
Dunkers.
Yeah.
Leave Shannon alone, dunkers.
I don't want the dark chocolate
write a handwritten note to the dunkers.
I'm so sorry. Thought you'd get over it, but you didn't. People make mistakes, and it's fine. That was my mistake, which I actually don't think so. I stand by my point. But anyway, so they get this gross stuff. I can't even think about the amount of tangents we've gone on in this podcast. Now it's a tangent about the tangents. They get all the gross stuff, and the producers are there like, put your hands in everything. Be so gross. Because in 2019, what episode? You saw David. You podcasted with me for the merge of 2019. Do you remember you saw David with the popcorn?
Yes.
And he's on the floor, like eating the
Yes.
popcorn from the
Yes.
floor, like,
Yes.
and he took it to its
Less
grossest
gross.
possible
That was
point.
less gross.
Do you think so? Off the floor?
Yeah.
But like everyone's just tried to be David since.
Mm-hmm.
Ironically, I think David actually was in the cake one in All Stars, but everyone's like, and they just try, but it's not like it's never hit since. Like they completely like mastered the medium in 2019, and they're like, so we have to do it every time. That's when they should have retired it, but they don't. They never have because
Keep going back. Yeah,
exactly, because it was such a good TV moment, but it can never be topped. So,
but I really do feel like that once I think that they got unlucky that Cara found the advantage first, because then I feel like that
was right there.
Yeah, we didn't really see a lot of people. Like, I don't know if that was a great place to hide it.
It was
like,
there.
Or if they felt like, okay, well, why are all the yellow M&Ms on the floor?
She really likes yellow M&Ms. Like, that's her color. I don't know.
The green M&Ms could make you clucky, from what I understand.
What?
Mm-hmm.
What do you mean?
I'm just saying.
Okay, I'll Google it. Obviously, it's too weird to say
or
on the
don't.
podcast.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so
I'm going to.
Yes, and then we saw everybody just like go in, but not really. Like, nobody was like doubled over. Like, I kind of had like I thought I was excited for the candy reward, but I felt like that then it didn't really deliver.
It never hits anymore like it used to, because it's already been beaten by David. I think the thing my cousin has always said, and I think it's a really good, easy adjustment, is that you go in by increasing time. So now it's like, oh, they pull six. Like, there's always some way to kind of get in this like friendly way of who's going to go in. But what if you have to make a decision? If you go in first, you get 1 minute. If you go in last, you get unlimited time, and then everything increases between that. Now you're making a decision. Yeah. So I've always thought that's a pretty good fix.
Yeah. So that's mandated by the show more than the player. Yeah.
Yeah, but then but then the players are making a decision. Do you want to go in first and like have your shot, but you got a minute? Do you want to go in last and like have all the time in the world? That's interesting.
Yeah, Shannon, it looked like there was like a giant lollipop with somebody's face on it. Were you able to make out whose face was on the lollipop?
Please be JLP, and then I'll give my
address
address
was
later
George, but I don't know.
No, that would be crazy. Can you imagine being another contestant on the show? You get there and there's a giant lollipop in George's face. I wonder who the main character is.
I could see it more in Heroes versus Villains for sure. But yeah, you didn't see the face on the lollipop?
No, I didn't even see a lollipop. I was distracted.
Yeah, it's like decoration. It was somebody's face. Maybe it was JLP.
It had to have been JLP. JLP as Wonka.
Yeah. So
I would love the Willy Wonka. Like, let's do that. Like the parody.
Steele? And then every time they like get voted out, then the Oompa Loompas come out and sing.
Yeah. I think that's great. But I think that it should be JLP. Like, he takes George, Haley, and we go through.
I mean, do you want to assign roles to them?
I feel like I don't know Willy Wonka. This is because I was actually really scared of Willy Wonka for many, many decades of my life. Terrified of
Gerald
that movie.
Would be a great Augustus Gloop.
Yes, that's a character I know. I was really. Who's the one who turns into a blueberry?
That's Violet.
Yeah, so that terrified me. That terrified me for like decades and decades of my life. So I'm like not really well versed in Willy Wonka.
Yeah, I don't know if there's a gum chewer. And I don't know who George would be. If he's Mike TV or Charlie.
Yeah, I think probably Mike TV from the little I know. Although he's going to survive till the end, right? He's the main character.
I mean, he gets pretty far. Doesn't win. Oh, Charlie or Mike TV?
Charlie. Oh, right. George doesn't make it to the end, but Charlie does. Okay. I don't even know anymore.
Yeah. Okay.
They had a lot of candy, and that was, and so then they get the tribal council,
the VIP ticket. Yeah. So this was interesting. Okay. I don't think I really understood how this works. Because is this that great of an advantage?
No, this is nothing. All this will get you is for
Cara
Simon
was very
to use
excited.
it. Yeah, I don't know. I think I think it's bad. Like, if you want screen time, don't be like, this sucks production. Give me an
I thought her and a friend were getting to like leave a tribal council. And I was like, oh, okay, well, this is good for them because then they can like get out. But
seen that, yeah.
Her and a friend can just go to a tribal council.
Yeah, that sounds like a lot of effort for me.
Like,
that's a late night.
Go to a tribal council and vote also.
Yeah. Vote out Simon, who was going to be voted out anyway.
Yeah.
And then 2 years later, Simon can say, George, it was you. Imagine if he
Mm-hmm.
wasn't there. Then he'd have to make up something else.
Yeah, so it did set in motion a rivalry that would last for years. So I guess we have that. But overall, like I feel like that the reward advantage, like typically, like you get something good. This was not that great. Like, what do I want to interfere with the other tribe's business for
Yeah.
in
I
such a
don't.
public way?
It was funny. It was funny that that tribe doesn't have an idol. And they were like, but we'll give you this. And they've been
Mhm.
hiding idols everywhere. Like they've been like idols all the time. And now they're like,
Yeah.
but instead it'll be this new thing.
Give me some
That,
advantages.
yeah,
I want to say like what I would rather have than this.
50-50 coin.
Well, I'll get kicked off the podcast if I say this VIP advantage. Is that what it's called?
Yeah,
The VIPs?
I guess
This was a
so.
little big brothery.
Yeah, it was just it was nothing. It was
Hmm.
nothing. What other advantages are there? An idol. I don't remember advantages
I'd rather
right
have an
now.
idol than the VIP.
Yeah, what about okay, so like the safety without power.
I think I'd
Obviously,
rather have safety without
yeah.
power because at least I get immunity. Like I was already immune for this tribal council.
Yeah, but what if they weren't immune?
They
Then
can
it's
get
literally
voted
nothing.
for.
I think if they're not immune, then it's nothing. I think that that advantage just dies. And like it was highly likely that they were going to lose the challenge.
Hmm.
So we
Yeah.
actually got pretty
Also,
lucky.
yeah, they're pretty lucky because are they merging in the next episode? The coming attractions said merge, so I don't know
Yeah,
if
no, they are.
necessarily.
They are merging.
So so what the freaking hell, production? Like, what are you doing?
They had a whole candy thing around something that was like 80% not even going to be a thing. And then
Hmm.
was, but didn't matter because how could it matter? They don't even get, it's like not even like go back to the Brawn camp for the afternoon. Like, let's really work something out. Like, they
Yeah, they
literally
just
just,
showed up at tribal council.
yeah. They've not done it since. It was a dud. It
Yeah,
wasn't, yeah.
it's not
It was
that great.
very unmemorable.
Hmm.
And
Very weak
just a
sauce.
bunch of M&Ms ruined for no reason.
Did it ruin the M&Ms or
Well,
the
then they were
M&Ms
on the floor.
got dropped on the floor?
Yeah, I
Right.
guess anyone could eat floor M&Ms. I mean, people have done a lot worse.
Yeah.
Those,
Can you
yeah.
come up with the food item that maybe you can save the unlimited all you can eat reward, Shannon?
What do you mean?
Clucky's Tacos? Like, what would it be? Like, give me the new scenario. We've seen the candy store. We've seen the movie theater. We've seen the Margie bar.
We've seen Mexican, so we've seen the tacos.
Yes.
Those at the bottom of the nachos. We've seen
Mm-hmm.
sandwiches.
Ham sandwich. Sure.
Seen cake. Wait, what are you asking? What's the best?
Give me the next that
Oh, the next
you
one?
work for Survivor Productions, okay?
We've
Give
seen
us
spaghetti.
the next place.
What if it's this is bad. What if it's like really spicy cuisine? So now it's a challenge. You know, before it was like, yeah, put your hand in white chocolate, whatever. Now it's like eat your way to the bottom of like chili. Like let's like have you
Yeah,
crying if you want
this
to.
is
Like,
good. This is good. And it's like, well, how hungry are you? It's like, okay,
all you can
this
eat
food,
at the,
yes,
in a 20th hamburger.
this food is very good, but it's also very spicy. Okay. And it's also you're very hungry. And so maybe there's you can't bring water in.
Yeah.
So it's very spicy. It's very spicy food.
What if it's a cinnamon challenge? What if it's at the bottom of just a bunch of cinnamon? Let's see that.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I like this.
Are we just going back around to like what the gross food eating challenge once was, kind of, but not?
I guess so, but it's also it's not so spicy that but it's there's no
It's still,
water.
yeah,
And
it's still like
food. And
very
you
much like a
still
cuisine you're used to. Yeah.
yes. And so it's very spicy and then you can eat and maybe there is, an idol somewhere, but I don't know if it's just like we don't want people to just dump out like our whole like bucket of chili.
No dumping it out. Then you're
Hmm.
out. Then the time goes. You're gone. No
Hmm.
dumping anything. You eat your way through whatever. I think it's either spicy food or a lot of food. Like it's at the bottom of something, and you got to like. That's what I mean. It's what are we putting these people through and why? But I
Hmm.
think that's the evolution. Like, yeah, look, I let people throw cakes on the floor, whatever. That's nothing. But put them in a bowl of chili, like they're bobbing for apples with their hands tied behind their back. Now we're at a fair. Now we're at a carnival. Like that's fun.
I mean, not the carnivals that I go to, but I hear what you're saying.
I've never been to a carnival, but I assume that that's
You
what.
get in bowls of chili.
Yeah, I think this is great. I think that this is also a good solution to the individual. Yeah,
Send it to
send it to
Samoa.
Samoa.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Let's do it.
amazing. I've
Yeah.
solved it.
Yes. Okay. And then yeah, they're the VIPs, and they get to go to a tribal council.
And they do.
Yeah. I mean, I'd like to go to a tribal council. Like as a visitor.
No, yeah, I would like that. Would be amazing. That would be a
Put
dream
me in
come
the Jimmy
true.
Fallon booth.
Yeah, that would be a dream come true for me. I don't know why it's a dream come true for them. I mean, they've won one night off tribal council. Literally, they have not have a George. When was the last time he wasn't at a tribal council?
What do you think about this? Of that, so George and Kara get to secretly attend the tribal council and cast votes, and that will really mess with the other players of what would happen. Obviously, eventually, like everybody would find out.
Yeah, that's somehow worse than what they
That's
even did.
worse.
Yeah.
Big for
Because it's
good
like also
TV.
pointless, but it's also just like they just cast 2 random votes and then that would be so annoying. Like if someone goes home on their 2 random votes and no one even knew they were voting, I think I would be ranting for 2 years. Like I think that's one of the things that I'm not over.
Yeah.
Horrible. Don't send that to Samoa. We had one good one, and then this was came right. No.
Okay. Well, what else from this week?
Oh, I read Wave's letter. We talked about Sandra Bullock a lot. I don't even
Can I tell you
understand
what's
the
been on my
tangent.
mind? Okay. So
Please.
you have talked about in our conversations, like, okay, yeah, great, George and Haley, but you've also like alluded to that there is something that's going to happen in this season that from like the nature of a twist that I have no idea what it is. But you've alluded to that there's something that is almost like, wow, this season is out of control. And we have not gotten any hint of that yet to this point. So, Shannon, you have alluded to something that is mind blowing in this season that makes it, can't even believe how crazy it was. And typically, this is something that happens in the pre merge, and we're about to enter the merge. And I can't even fathom what is about to happen or could happen that would make you react this way.
Maybe that was a lie.
I don't think so.
No. I mean, look, what you can't fathom something that would make me react in an extreme way.
I guess so. Very little. But you had said that you interviewed the Australian Survivor showrunners who themselves said they got carried away.
Yeah, I mean,
things were out of hand.
It's been a bit twisty. Like it's been a pretty twisty. I guess there were a lot of idols, George's thing.
I really don't think so. I think that this has been.
It's been less than I thought. It felt like a lot at the time. Like the Shannon and Laura tribal council. Like 2021 me on the podcast was like, this is crazy. So I think I was more what's happening.
We're frogs in boiling water.
Yeah, not like a saying I say a lot, but
we're frogs in boiling hot chili at this point.
In terms of what?
The amount of twists and stuff that they've put in more and more over the years. We don't even notice.
Well, I
We're
know
at a twist carnival and didn't even realize it.
This season is the most of any of them, but it's to come. But I don't think it's been like super chill. But Australian Survivor's never chill. It's been fine. I think it's in hindsight been fine. Medical immunity is fine. Like things that at the time seem crazy, but we'll see. I'm excited to see if you think it's as bad as I do.
I'm very excited to see where we go from here.
Me too.
This is the halfway point.
Excited.
We're past the halfway point, right?
No, this is it. Exactly halfway. I am so excited.
In terms of episodes?
Yeah, episodes and weeks. We're doing 8 weeks.
Great.
So exactly halfway.
Midpoint.
What are your predictions for next week?
Well, I guess we're going to have the merge, and then it really does seem as though, Haley has her numbers plus Flick, and then they'll reunite with George and Cara and potentially with Laura as well. And then we, what's that? 8 at that point, and then it feels like, similar to in Heroes versus Villains, like what does Emmett have? Emmett, Gerald, Kezer, Ham Sandwich, and Danny.
Yeah, those would be. So that's that. Do you see it as that 8v5?
I'm trying to think of what I don't even know if the Brawn is going to be united together. And I guess that potentially they could pull back Laura from the Brawn, from the Brains.
Well,
And
Laura, yeah. Where's Laura? It's a hard one.
yeah. So I don't know. But it feels like that, the Haley side of things have it like firmly in hand. Like I don't
Well,
even
she
see.
wins, so I feel like maybe.
Right, but also like I'm just trying to think of like unless like there's somebody who I don't know, maybe like the Andrew and Laura could like potentially like, oh, we have a love of nature together, so let's go
They were
back with the
already
bro.
aligned.
They
They were actually
right.
aligned.
So
Yeah.
but they were aligned, so maybe that
Andrew was
they're
putting a lot of work, Rob, behind the scenes. The amount of work that man is doing strategically.
mm-hmm.
Think about it.
Yeah. So I
To
don't
the
know.
point where
Maybe they could try to defect back to what's going on with Braun, but I don't even think they have Flick. So I think it's going to be hard to imagine a group that's going to come together that's going to be able to take a shot at the former Brains tribe.
how could it go wrong? How could it possibly go wrong? We don't know if it will.
Yeah.
Doesn't seem like it should.
Now I think
Anyway, yeah.
maybe where Kara is still mad at the Brains tribe for voting her out. Maybe she's still Braun strong.
Yeah, so you assume that George is with Brains because of like Haley and Baden, not
Mm-hmm.
Way, not Andrew, not Laura.
Yeah, and I feel like he's not loyal to Emmett and Gerald. He has no loyalty
Well, even
to,
he has been so far
right. But
out
I
of
mean, not
necessity. Yeah,
loyal. Yeah.
yeah, fair enough. So that's it. So that's how you see them. With them emerging next, you see those numbers. What else?
Mm-hmm.
Give me another random
Yeah, I feel
prediction.
like Emmett's not really long for this world. Gerald also, I think, is going to be in trouble coming up. So I think that we'll probably get whatever this twist is going to be. I think we're probably going to have that coming up pretty soon. I
Would
would
you
think.
laugh if the twist was like nothing and I had just been the most dramatic person ever for 2 years?
Yes, I would laugh. I would laugh about that.
Mike and I have a bet on your reaction.
Mm-hmm. You have a bet about my reaction.
Yeah, like Mike thinks that you'll be like, yeah, it's fine.
Okay. We'll see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm so excited. And then what about your chizzy points, Rob? So important.
Oh, I actually did not come up with chizzy points ahead of time for this week.
And last week you did? Was last week ahead of time with pre-planning the Andrew
Yeah, I think
point?
so. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I had 3 and 2. I think Andrew was a little bit on the fly.
Yeah, I should hope so.
Okay. In terms of this week, I don't know. Did anybody really play that great? I guess I'll give 3 to Haley again. And then 2 to I don't even know. I don't know. You
I
seem
love how
high on
committed you
Emmett.
are.
Yeah, I mean,
I gave 3 to Haley, 2 to Emmett, and so did David. So we were aligned.
mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, this is I think a tough week. So
please don't give it to Andrew.
Yeah. No, I won't
Well,
give it to
let's
Andrew.
talk it through.
Although Andrew did land one of the he did land the winning shot in one of the immunity challenges.
You are the number one Standrew in the world, like in existence.
Well, now I just notice if he does anything.
Well, how are you noticing that? Well, like the challenges this week were all like Emmett.
You didn't notice JLP is like, and Andrew wins immunity for the Brawn tribe.
That's JL Wonka to you. That was what was going through my head. I tuned out of the challenge and I was just playing that in my mind's eye. But okay, so I gave 1 point to Baden.
Mm-hmm. That was in episode 11. Andrew wins the challenge for Brawn.
Well, you put that in your notes. Andrew wins the challenge. Rob.
Yes, I mean, in fairness, Kez and Emmett were throwing the challenge, but
they were literally throwing the challenge.
Andrew did win it. Yeah.
I liked Emmett's challenge throwing to Emmett and Gerald doing that to protect the other side as much as it did not.
Yeah, although he almost got voted out then.
Yeah, but he didn't. And also Simon then goes home anyway. They don't throw. But I guess they only had Laura to vote for. She could have an idol. It was dangerous. I get it. Mm-hmm. I don't, we talk about this. I feel like it's so interesting with Australian Survivor because it's so long and they have these swaps that eventually, like, either out of like loyalty and boredom, like it always gets to like a challenge throwing, which is so fun. You know, we don't have as much time for people to get there as much in US Survivor anymore. But
how about this?
Yeah.
I will give 2 points to Flick.
2 points to Flick?
Sure. Why not?
Yeah, David gave a point to Flick.
Yeah, I mean, she managed to, from, you know, where her closest ally ended up getting voted out, she ingratiated herself back to Haley, making Haley feel like she's going to work with her, gets to outlive Simon in the game. That's pretty good.
Yeah, and in terms of the blindside on Simon with 2 idols, like, obviously they all have to be credited, but she's the one who has to really act like the target, and she does. So, yeah, I think it's fine.
And give one chizzy point to Laura.
For what?
She, of the witches' coven, she's the only one that lasted and got through it. And George is coming to her and saying like, "Hey, let's work together." And she's like, "Yeah, let's go."
I don't think that going to 2 tribal councils where you lose your 2 allies.
It wasn't her fault.
She doesn't control
She
this.
did something.
She could have gone to them and been like, "Vote out my allies, I'll vote with you." She didn't even get her foot in the door. She did nothing. Rob, please no.
Now, one chizzy point for Laura.
We're not doing the terrible 1 point every
with
week.
Andrew.
We're not making it a bit. We're not doing it. Laura probably has points. Like other things. I don't have it handy right now.
Congratulations, Laura. Welcome to the party.
Rob, that is not... What about Baden? He's the one who gave that information. He's the connector to Kara and George. Like, that could be really important.
Literally, like, one of my kids could have been at tribal council, and Haley said, tell George and Kara to vote for... And they could have done it.
Why do you use your kids as an example of, like, any idiot could do this? I guess they're children.
Because I know I am keenly aware of what they're capable of and what they're not capable of. And these trained monkeys could go ahead and deliver the message, vote for Simon.
Laura does not have a chizzy point. That was also Laura's first chizzy point. I don't know how spoilery these things are, but...
It's like angels are peeing right in her mouth.
Okay.
Chizzy points.
No, I think maybe... Who else?
Whizzy points for Laura.
You're ruining my legacy. You're ruining my thing. What about Gerald? What about Emmett?
What did Gerald do?
Emmett?
What did Gerald do?
He was the one who said we should throw the challenge.
And Emmett almost got voted off.
But he didn't. But you know who did? Laura's allies.
Okay. They should have... They made a good case. If it wasn't for freaking Rachel being so mean to George, maybe he would have gone with them.
I don't think he's doing it without Kara. Right? Like, he says he can on the split, but he's probably not. And I don't think Kara wants to do that. Like, Kara's with Brawn. Do you think he would do it without Kara?
I don't think so. No.
Yeah. So I think that's just a crazy... Anyway, look, it's your points. You're giving out points that no one's ever given. You're really a unique
I'm making chistery.
Yeah, making chistery. Should it be making chistery? Should that be the name of the podcast?
It could be.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. We'll get to it at
All
a
right.
point. Rob, I don't have more tangents in me. It's 1 a.m.
That's fine. Okay, well, this was fun.
It was a good time. I wasn't every time. This is the process. It's
Why do you ask a question? Like, it's like, I don't know. Was it fun?
Have you met me? Like, all these things where you're like, what? This is literally why. Like, don't focus on petty little things. Don't try to control everything. I'm hearing it in my mind, but I'm doing it still. So
yes, everybody, light your candle circles for Shannon to get Taylor Swift tickets.
Yeah. Yes. 7 hours tomorrow.
7 hours tomorrow.
Yeah, 7 hours yesterday, 7 hours tomorrow. Sam says, I'm also going to get a call in 20 minutes asking if this was good. Rude, and also true.
Shannon, go to bed.
I won't.
Yes. Okay.
Wake up, get those Taylor Swift tickets.
I
won't get them, Rob.
Maybe you'll get the VIP tickets where you will get special seat.
No, because you have to pay a lot for those. Like, I could try and get
maybe
those, so much money.
You'll get the golden ticket.
Maybe this is a sign. Maybe this is it. If anyone wants to stand in line for me, if any of the listeners, well, actually, this is going to come out.
Kara will get 2 tickets and want to take you. Maybe as an empath, she can sense how badly you want to go.
I could actually see that happening. And she's also probably listening to this, so when she wouldn't have to sense it, she could hear. this is actually going to come out before the tickets. If anyone listening wants to just sometimes go on the Ticket Tag website and then maybe like buy 2 tickets if you get through, obviously I will buy any tickets from you.
Okay.
If people want to go on for me and look, if you're not interested in doing that and you think, oh, let me go on the Ticket Tag website, because it's not a line, as I've learned, it's just a random lottery. That's what I'm doing now. I'm trying to use the platform. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
Sorry.
Shannon, what else do you have coming up?
Just nothing. Just
Mhm.
this
Yeah.
nonsense every week. That's it.
All right. Well,
I did a
looking
brand
forward to it.
steal. You can listen to that.
We had a lot of fun with that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Did we?
That's no spoilers. No spoilers. The only spoilers is that it's fun. You can check that out. RHAP.com. Check out 4+ hours with players versus podcasters. No Australian Survivor players in this one. Maybe that's the next brand steal we have to do.
Yeah. What, just the players? The actual players? Could get
Yeah.
like Nick. Yeah.
Yeah. Could we get
Wouldn't it be
24?
crazier?
Could we get 24?
No.
No.
They can barely get 24. They can't even do a full All-Star season. So
It's true.
I don't think that we can. Yeah, I mean, look, there are some things coming up in this season that'll feel like a brand steal.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Brand steal can break itself.
Looking forward to that. Thank you so much for joining us. Make sure you subscribe. RHAPisawebsite.com/subscribe. Take care, everybody. Have a good one. Bye.